This is Guide to California, Part 1, Greater Los Angeles, Part 2, Downtown LA, and Nearby Activities, Part 1. I've been trying out some new effects on these intros just to juice it up a little bit. So we got a lot to cover, a lot of slides. Let's get right into it. Before we start, there's this misunderstanding with a certain mainstream travel website where people share their reviews of places they've hopefully been. In many cases, they probably have. And if I insulted any of the people who have good reviews or comments, not favorable or unfavorable, but like quality type stuff, by including you in just in some of my comments, including you in the greater group of TripAdvisor website users whose comments are of a lower caliber, I apologize. It was not my intent to do that, and I hope we can and move forward together. We all have a lot to share, and most of us anyway. I mean, probably everybody has a lot to share, but most of us have like some pretty cool material to tell each other about. And many of us, those of us who do, I hope we can move forward together. The rest of you, haters, leave your comments below. This is an open society. YouTube is a democracy or whatever. Getting to Los Angeles, I just love it every time I hop off the plane. I love LAX, even though it's kind of uncomfortable. It's being in LAX is kind of like being on a crowded bus or a crowded subway. It's just, oh, I like it here. If you need a break from the crowds at LAX and you've got a layover or something, it's a trek, but you can go to the international terminal, the one that's like, I don't know. I think it's the closest to the ocean, and I actually think you have to ride a bus there right now, still. Like they're redoing the tunnel or something. But that's a nice way to spend an afternoon. There's a lot more space over there. And get to Los Angeles. It's just, getting to Los Angeles. I don't know why these photos are out of order, but this flight that resulted in being there, like whatever, 3-hour flight from here in Minnesota, this dude spent a lot of it just very comfy in his happy place using his, it's like when you rent when you buy an airplane ticket, you're not paying for the, you're not paying for the space on the plane, you're paying for the result of the flight, which is that you'll end up somewhere, maybe. But this guy kind of like, he had his own way. You kind of do. You pay for your space on the plane. Like, could I buy an airplane ticket, go put a bunch of stuff in my seat and not take the flight? No, that's not how things work. But this guy, he knew that foot space was available to him, and he chose to use it his way. And it's just I hope we can all find our happy place like this guy. I assume that he's probably done this on other flights and probably does this on every flight he's ever on. And there are probably some seasoned cabin crew type people that have nicknames for him. And right? I mean, this is guy that does this guy. Like, cool. I should have, I come home from regrets from a trip, and it's always that I should have chatted up the so-and-so. I really should have chatted up the guy that waits for the plane to take off, stands up, a little crouches, turns around, gets seated the way he wanted to sit all along. Hey man, we're all gonna get there. Let's be comfortable each in our own way. That's cool. Maybe he's writing Rick Steves' Facebook group comments. Maybe he's on the Wi-Fi. The Westin Bonaventure. Look it up. Go see it. It's a fine line between explaining something and saying, trust me, you'll want to see this. And I don't know why I give travel advice on the internet. I don't want to know what the whole deal is with something before I see it. If it's possible to find all out about something before going to see it, it's probably not worth going to see it. Like, just look it up and then you'll know about it. Like Interstate 80 east of the Rocky Mountains, let's say, I can find out what that's like without going there. If I go there, fine. I'll probably find interesting things that I wouldn't have found on the internet. But here, what to say about the Westin Bonaventure, besides like it's an iconic postmodern architecture, it is, and it's in a zillion movies, like everything in Greater Los Angeles, which has actually made it difficult for me to make this series because I could go down. I mean, talk about rabbit holes. Let's talk about movies that take place mostly in houses in Greater Los Angeles. Like, there goes 20 minutes. Sunset Boulevard. What's that one? Oh, The Limey, very underrated Los Angeles movie. If you're only going to watch one Los Angeles movie, you might want to skip Chinatown and watch The Limey. Okay. Neither of those movies features the Westin Bonaventure, but it is in Spinal Tap, in the scene where they are meeting outside. I think it's where they're looking at the new album cover. It's like the Black Album, which weirdly Metallica, whatever. But Derek Smalls with the mustache is like looking at his reflection in the shrink wrap, and Fran Drescher is there. What's her name? It's one of these meetings with like Sir Dennis Eaton Hogg. I'll return to that later, Sir Dennis Eaton Hogg, because I'm honest to goodness, if I can push next series out the door, which is like Guide to the Sunset Strip or Guide to Sunset Boulevard, I actually found Sir Dennis Eaton Hogg from Spinal Tap, the real life version. Westin Bonaventure, go see it. It's impossible to get a picture that represents it in such a way that you wouldn't have to go see it, which is different from Interstate 80 heading across Iowa or whatever. Like that, you can find out what that's like if you've seen some other interstates. Here, good luck. I mean, you'll recognize it from the photos when you walk through there, but just go walk through there. We were lucky. We stayed there randomly, semi-randomly. We were attending an event that was there. Like, that's cool. Didn't even really know downtown LA existed. But if you circle back and watch the movie Training Day, here we go again. That takes place largely in and around downtown LA. Downtown LA has a different feel from Santa Monica or Hollywood. Very different. It could easily stand on its own with, like, say, if there were just nothing around it but flyover country. It's a cool downtown. I'm not the first to figure this out. That's another problem with doing tell-all about LA. Like, check this out. You're not going to believe what I discovered. But let's see. The Pacific dining car. We were there at like 1 a.m. after the flight with facing backwards guy because we were hungry. Like, let's find a classic Los Angeles diner. That's why I thought of Training Day. Another good downtown LA movie. Let's say maybe the best downtown LA movie is the John Carpenter classic starring Macho Man Randy Savage. The movie They Live is like just that. Holy cow, there's that fight scene That's like the ultimate downtown LA movie. And the best part, which I'm maximum respect for John Carpenter. Maybe he just ran out of budget, but we're getting to this, building up to this final fight scene. It's like so many other movies. Like picture Revenge, what is it? Revenge of the Ninja, the one that was filmed in Salt Lake City, that one. It build up, build up, build up, and there's finally this big like rooftop fight scene. Except I don't like those scenes. By the way, I lose interest because you're down to the last two characters, and you know what's going to happen. Like 99 million times out of whatever. It's going to take a while, but the bad guy is going to go sliding off the edge of the building, and then it's all going to explode, and the good guy's going to survive. John Carpenter just spared us that scene. He got everything all set up, and he was like, all right, that's it. Movie's over. That's how I remember it anyway. And one of the many reasons I suggest you check out that movie. The Westin Bonaventure, again, if you put this up next to any of the two biggest buildings in Las Vegas, it would get lost. It would like, oh, whatever. It looks like a cooling tower or data center or something. It's cool that they put some mirrors on it. We'll check it out. A lot of downtown LA is that classic plaza, downtown, financial district type stuff. But let's take a closer look. For example, let's take a close look at this side of this van. It's a white van, big deal. You look up close, it says Gothic Mastiffs. I like that. Patterns overlaying other patterns. Downtown Los Angeles is a land of contrast and overlaying patterns and meshing and dividing and layers and levels. It's downtown LA is surprisingly hilly to a point where if you like, let's go walk around, you know how you do. It's just some serious ups and downs. Like you'll have tired calves even if you're not walking that fast and you don't make it very far. But the Broad here, oh, big shout out to Todd and your family if you're watching this, Todd. I expect nothing less from someone like you. We were talking the other day, and you already knew how to pronounce the name of this museum. And they'll judge you in Los Angeles if you say the Broad, like Broadway. The Broad. You knew that, man. That tells me that you're going to be okay in LA. You and your family. This is a guide that I'm making for Todd mostly to watch before, during, after his own trip to downtown Los Angeles. So the Broad, we didn't get in there on the first go around. More about that later. I like the overlaying patterns. I like the fence here. Walt Disney Concert Hall. I haven't checked that out yet, but side note, well, I'll just throw this in. The Frank Gehry house in Santa Monica, which I don't appreciate Santa Monica anymore. I think it's just kind of almost like you could find out what it's like there without really going there. A lot of chain stores. There's a mall. I'll show some of that in a minute. I mean, go check out the California Incline that's featured in Grand Theft Auto 2. I look for it every time we're on a flight out of LAX because usually you get to see it out the window. It's just an iconic, boy, that's an iconic stretch of road if there ever was one. And what does it say that the makers of Grand Theft Auto 2 put the California Incline as pretty much the first obstacle that you have to figure out once you get to LA the fake LA in the storyline. Okay, Santa Monica. The Frank Gehry house, which he's like, I guess still lives there. It's just like on a corner lot in Santa Monica, pretty far from the ocean. Check it out. You can't go inside. Please don't go knock on the door and tell them that Self-Guided Tour sent you. I didn't. I'm saying don't do that. Don't bug this poor guy. He's got to dream up his next building that looks exactly like his others. I have a little bit of contempt for that, but maximum respect. Like, that's cool, I guess. But his house, he's been working on it for years. He's lived there forever, I guess. You can Google and find out about that. But I liked it. It's like more like stuff you can get at Home Depot, you know? It's kind of his test kitchen, maybe. I don't know. His happy place. You can Google and find like pictures inside, I think, a few. But what I was interested in, like, okay, this guy has got this, he's a visionary and he's an influencer extraordinaire in the architect world, a brand. People call him and say, we want one of your silver buildings. And I'm sure he says, well, let's see. I approach each project differently, but they all kind of look the same, dude. What's it look like when he walks out of his house? What's across the street? That interested me. We know what it looks like when we look at his house. What does he see when he walks out of his own house? He sees other houses across the street. Is it a lot of pressure to be across the street from Frank Gehry? Like, oh, I need to up my game and I'm going to go do my own corrugated tin creation, and then this will be sort of a thing. I can't just have a normal house. Nobody seems to have gone in that direction on his corner, which is kind of cool. He's just tucked into this little corner of the universe. Like I say, his happy place. I want everyone to find their happy place. This tree found its happy place. It has a permanent Christmas light installation. These are quite the smoking area. This is just strolling, I think, east from the Broad, because it is possible to do a mildly strenuous walking tour of, well, no, minimally strenuous walking tour of this part of downtown LA and see some things. That was the request, by the way. Todd, I hope this is helping. And that's just quite a smoking area. Like, that is, they're really taking care of those, that subcategory of the population there. It's neat stuff. I'm kind of fascinated by the courthouse. See some pictures of that. Way up in the distance above this juror parking sign. What's that? Look at that. What's that tan thing? Oh, it's the Los Angeles Cathedral that they had to build after the Northridge earthquake flattened the other one, which I've never looked into. Because, okay, soapbox. Get on my soapbox. When, say, a group of travelers visit a certain western half of a certain continent, talking about, well, you see, there are travel influencers that were influencing even before people were using the word influencer. One of them is named Rick Steves, and he's got people. It's like a, he has an army at his disposal. Rick, you've really done it, man. And okay, talking like your classic used to be like backpackers that want to go stay in hostels and have traveler's checks in the bottom of their sock, shoe, whatever, and try to buy drugs in faraway lands and spend a whole year traveling. Now it's like, how many cities can we do in a day? And there's this whole big to-do about that actually ongoing, this big fracas at the Rick Steves Facebook group. Rick, your people are having it out. They're having it out. Maybe you should step in when they're having it out, because they're talking about doing a place. I'm beyond doing a place. I'm more like, I try to clean out the place. That's my term, meaning I don't just do it, or I did London or whatever. If I'm in London, I try to see enough of it that I'll be okay if I never go back. That's my, because how life is short, and how am I going to get back there? Although I guess I've been back to downtown LA like 7 times, which is why this videos has a lot of minutes. Okay. Anyway, that crowd, it seems to be understood that if you're just anybody, like a secular-minded sort of person visiting Western Europe, visiting any well-known city in Western Europe, and doing that city, Rick Steves style, which is fine, by the way. And Rick, you seem nice. It's fine to go look at a cathedral, and nobody gets into, I mean, I'm sure there are some people that are like, I'm not doing that. But in the US here, just our culture is different, just some little tweaks here and there. And I think cathedrals are neglected, and that's fine. But you're missing out sometimes. I do go check out cathedrals in the US in big cities because there's a lot of history there. Fine. I don't actually research the history because I'm really not into that kind of stuff. Like I'm more interested in the experience of being somewhere right now and then find out just enough context to figure out my version of what happened. I probably shouldn't try to write guidebooks because people, I don't know if people would get confused or anyway, photos work, descriptions work. This cathedral, it was a big to do. It went way over budget. It was like a big pork barrel project, but I'm sure like Vatican style, like what, $500 million or something. They got a really cool result. Really something. We just wandered into the little courtyard, and there's just some things that stand out. It looks new. I'm not a student of cathedrals, but Frank Gehry, I'm sorry, your Walt Disney Concert Hall. Love to visit sometime, and I suppose I will. We've never even walked in to see the lobby. I will. I will get there, Frank. I'm sure it's beautiful. I've actually spent many happy hours at the Weisman Art Museum in Minneapolis, which gives me some sense of what it's going to be like to visit your other buildings, even though I know you designed them all custom and no two are alike. But the Los Angeles Cathedral, someone you can look up who designed this thing and put a comment in the comments if you want. Mash the comment button. It's big. There's a dragon robot looking building across the street. There's this. Go look around. It's as interesting as the Westin Bonaventure and equally unphotographable. Less iconic from the outside. A lot of broken forms. Wonderful acoustics. A big space. They nailed it out of the park with this one. Of note, the murals, which I'll try to find some Google pictures of the murals because I really don't have good pictures of them that we took ourselves. Look at the big organ. These murals or tapestries are set to the year that this thing was built, which I'm going to put in it was built in whatever it says down here. I have to look it up because the other one was destroyed in the earthquake. Remember, there's a mausoleum downstairs. You can go. You ever want to go wander around in a mausoleum while you're waiting for your Broad entrance pass to become effective, or after your visit to the Broad? You ever just want to go wander around a mausoleum where Gregory Peck is buried or interred, whatever? You can. We did. Here's some Chief Justice. The building across the freeway. All right, first of all, whoever designed I think the two cathedrals of downtown LA there's another one coming up on the other side of the freeway, really close. More about that in a minute. These are every bit as interesting to me as the Walt Disney Concert Hall, Union Station, and so on. That robot dragon building there from across the freeway. Whose building is that? That must be some tech startup, right? It's the LA Unified School District built that. And all right, and then whoever designed and built the cathedral must have made a bold decision. You'd think if you're putting something next to the freeway, maybe let's try to isolate the experience of visiting the cathedral from the freeway. I mean, who wouldn't make that a priority? Here, if you're wandering around this courtyard doing wedding photos or something, like I've seen people do at this cathedral, they just give you a nice big window so you can look out at the freeway. And as it happens, the menacing robot dragon LA Unified School District STEAM school building, like they're not hiding the freeway. They're like, here, come over here when you're done doing your cross thing and your rosaries. Here's a nice window where you can reflect on this beautiful view of the Los Angeles freeway. Like this city, Los Angeles, I'm telling you, Los Angeles unabashedly loves itself, and it doesn't hide from its own flaws. It just says, yeah, we're here. Freeway, cathedral, let's do this. Not a lot of barriers, a lot of broken forms. I don't know, that's architecture stuff. Somehow still a cozy cute little courtyard. And you see why I'm as intrigued by this cathedral as I am with the Westin down the road. And the Broad, I haven't given you much on that. I'll try to get to that. I mean, you're going there, Todd. So like, if I don't get to it in this thing, you can. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Cathedral. Let's go. Yeah, view of the cathedral. We'll go zipping down to the. If you walk a ways, and it's kind of a ways, like more like a mile, you can get to the old settlement of downtown, original Los Angeles when it was founded originally, and it had a really long name that I'll put in the titles. Here's that name. One more thing before I close out this special edition of this series. I lost my train of thought, but I can usually find it. Let's go. The tapestries inside the cathedral. So imagine it's the what? Who knows? I don't know. 1300s, and some bishop. I don't know how this works. Somebody builds a cathedral. It takes 200 years, and the people that dug the foundation never get to see it. You know the routine. There are going to be tapestries in there. These are all over Western Europe, and they've been loved to whatever. People love tapestries. Here, it's a bold move. They finished this thing in the early 2000s, I think, or whatever, and they just put in people dressed in the clothing of that era. Sadly, no like super baggy. What are those super baggy pants called that like you can't even see the person's shoes? And I mean, they could have been a little more period with the attire they chose, and soul patches, but they really did just freeze that moment in time, knowing that fashions are going to change, and they're just like, oh, we don't care. We'll put in some kids with a Walkman and headphones or whatever. We'll do a deep dive in. Actually, Todd, I have a request for you. If you make it to this cathedral, which who knows, get me some more pictures of those murals. That'd be cool. We'll close out there. I'll leave you with this photo of Los Angeles as a land of contrast. It's interesting to me that they put up the stairs first, and then I don't have a follow-up photo. It'd actually be pretty hard to take this same shot with like the building around the stairs now, but I suppose there are people like living there, living their lives right now. We'll stop there. Part 2 of this part of the series coming up.